I think that once you consider the consequences of not taking care of the little things, you realize that there are no little things. We believe in details very much because those are the things that separate the truly great and the truly high-performing athletes. So we're constantly looking for ways that we can find improvement, because I think the key to success is a very small improvement done every day versus a huge improvement trying to take a giant leap. We are very detail-oriented in practice in that we insist on proper technique all the time. If we don't get it, we do things over. I think our athletes have a real appreciation that in this sport, the margins are small. So I think for all swimmers and coaches, you have to be detail-minded. Well, there's no question that specificity of training is very important. And that means swimming at as close to your racing stroke and racing speed as possible so that you can condition your nervous system to operate at that level. So we feel like it's very important that athletes operate at speed pretty much every day at something. Now, usually twice a week, we're going to be doing a set where they're going to put the whole stroke together and try to swim some certain number of repeats at racing speed. Whether it's a series of hundreds to work on the second half of their 200, or it might be sprints off the block to work on their opening speed, or maybe at the end of practice, some sprints where they're trying to work on finishing speed. We think that specificity is critical to their overall development as an athlete. The other parts of speed that we use is we do a lot of measurements in kicking. Every one of my athletes know what their best kick times are for a 25, a 50, a 100, a 500, whatever we're trying to do. So we're working to try to increase their speed in the components of training as well as the whole stroke together. And I think it's very, very important, and it's something that really every swimmer can use as a database to measure the effectiveness of their training. What we tell our athletes is that confidence comes from demonstrated ability. So it's very important for us to develop that speed, the stroke, the tempo, and everything that goes along with it in the practice pool. I think the best way to prepare for a big race is to show up for practice every day and do your best job. I have a concept that I like to talk about. It's called everyday excellence. It's not excellence that happens, at the Nationals or at some big meet, but the excellence that happens on Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Because that's what's going to really make the difference in you becoming the swimmer that you could really be. So I think if you want to get ready for your big occasion down the road, the best way to do that is to improve the quality of your practices every day. I think that mental preparation for race day is just like physical preparation. It should take place before the race. We encourage our swimmers to regularly visualize themselves swimming their races, to really think about the strategy that they want to use, to rehearse that in practice, mentally and physically, so that when they get to race day, basically what they want to do is put themselves in a state where their body can perform optimally. You don't want them to have to start thinking up a lot of things that they need to do to swim fast. It should already be programmed in through training and practice. So what we like them to do on race day is basically just stay calm, stay loose, have some fun, and just clear their minds so that when they get up on the block, they're ready to just give their best effort. The body will take over, the training will take over, and they just put themselves in a state where they can perform their best. How do I keep Michael motivated? One of the great things about working with Michael is I really don't have to work on motivating him because he's very self-motivated. And he's motivated to achieve certain times in races that mean something to him. And one of the things he's really motivated about right now is to achieve lifetime best times by the end of this summer, something he has not done since 2009. Every day he comes into practice with goals and things he's working at that will allow him to achieve those goals down the end. So he really motivates himself, and I just try to challenge him to be his very best every day. When a swimmer has multiple events on one day, there's a certain pattern of events that need to occur that will allow them to be at their best for each race. The first thing that they need to do is have a good warm-up. and that's for every race. And you'll work with your coach to determine what the timing of that might be. We like to have a primary warm-up an hour and a half prior to the first event, and then the swimmer would get out, get dried off, rest for a little bit, and then put on their tech suit and get back in 30 minutes before, where they're basically just loosening up, getting a feel for the water, and just getting mentally ready to race about 20, 30 minutes later. After your first event, it is absolutely critical that two things occur. First, you want to get some sort of post-race nutrition, something that's going to put some calories back in your system so that you don't become glycogen depleted. Secondly, you need to swim down at a moderate effort for a minimum of about 20 minutes. I know that seems like a long time, but that's how long it takes for lactate to clear your system. And if you do this, you'll be much better for your second event. And if you do another event after that, the swim downs in between the meet kind of go as your warm-up for the next event. But there are critical things that have to happen. You have to be warmed up before the race, you race hard, post-race nutrition, and a swim down. If you put all of those things together, I guarantee you'll do a lot better. I think the structure of any good practice includes several components. I tend to do quite long warm-ups, probably up to 30% of the practice, because I want to gradually warm up the joints, shoulders, reinforce good technique, and get the swimmers mentally ready to do something really challenging when we're finished. Following the warm-up, which may include any number of things, it might be swimming, kicking, pulling, drilling, there are all kinds of things that we do. We have the primary objective for that practice, and that's what we call the main set. That probably takes up to about 50% of the practice. And it's going to be our main objective in terms of energy systems, and we use an alternating system of energy systems, whether it be more of a threshold or endurance type training, or anaerobic, high quality type training, or a mix of those things. And we follow a daily routine through the week which kind of hits on all those areas. The things that we take into account for the main set would be the energy system, the strokes that you're going to be doing. We're going to be thinking about what kind of event they're really training for. Obviously the distance swimmers are doing something different than the sprinters, and the butterflyers are doing something different than the breaststrokers, but that main series will accomplish the main objective of the practice. And then after that, there's usually something that's quite small. Maybe it's a series of sprints, maybe it's something technical, maybe it's just a very long recovery swim that probably comes about 20% of the practice. So we have 30% warming up, 50% in the main series, and about 20% of something else after.